the Madman!
Welcome to the top Hearthstone cards of the week. Today, we start off with Necromancer Nexram. 4 mana 3/2, Warlock Legendary. Battle Cry, give a minion -2/2. If that kills it, summon a 3/2 skeleton. Design, 3 stars. Balance, 4 stars. The design seems like, average-ish to me. I am going to say that I actually don't have a problem with -2/2. I think that Hearthstone is ready for that. That's in flavor of a Necromancer kind of crippling someone and weakening them. So that's good. What I have a problem with the design is twofold. First of all, that is a really dumb name. What's your dentist's name? My dentist's name is Prentice. That's terrible. But secondly, I think that this should probably be an epic level. It just doesn't evoke the grandeur of a legendary to just be a guy, doing a little bit of damage and then summoning a skeleton. I think it's a little bit strong right now. It kind of reminds me of Flanking Strike, except it's Flanking Skeleton. This thing, you deal 2 damage, and then you get 2 3/2s for the same amount of mana, so yeah, that seems a little bit too powerful. Also, it seems a little bit strange that the skeleton is a 3/2. I don't know how to explain it, but a skeleton isn't a 3/2. I'm not even entirely sure that a skeleton is a 2/2, but that's what I'm suggesting the card be nerfed to. And it's 4 mana 3/2 that summons a 2/2 skeleton if it kills the minion. I think it's kind of cool. It would fit the epic slot pretty well. Conservationalist for Druid. 2 mana 2/3, Spell Burst. Shuffle 3 copies of that spell into your deck. They cost 0. Yikes. Design, 2 stars. Balance, 2 stars question mark? This is just one of those things where you don't think too hard about the balance. It's like, could this possibly be balanced? Yeah, it could, but more troubling is the design. The design is just something that shouldn't be done because it's too dangerous. Now, I applaud Hearthstone for taking risks sometimes. Sometimes degenerate combo decks arise from them. In the case of Kael'thas, that did have to get changed. Combo decks are a lot less fun if they're just solitaire without zany effects. Conservationalist might just allow for too boring of a way to always win. It's really not that hard to Conservationalist and then Overflow, for example. Eventually, you'll basically, for 9 mana, effectively be able to draw 20 cards and heal for 20. That seems kind of broken, but at the same point, I wasn't entirely sure what to rate the balance because it actually might be too slow, and then it's like, okay, whatever, Conservationalist is fine. But that doesn't matter. It's a card that's so explosive that this should never be done. To shuffle 3 copies of a spell into your deck that costs 0, that should just never be done. Conservationist into swipe, and then eventually you gather up your Malagos and you swipe 3 times. That's actually pretty gross. After talking this out some more, I think this card has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. I'm downgrading it to design 1 star, balance 1 star. Totem Pole Climber, a Shaman minion, 3 mana 3/3, Battle Cry, gain the effects of all basic totems you control. Design, 3 stars, balance, 3 stars. My chat joked that 2006 called. Basically, this card forgot to be power creeping along with every other card. And in fact, it might actually be too weak for even 2006. Gain the effects of all basic totems? You couldn't even do totems in general? You had to play it that safe? So imagine you assemble the trifecta of totems that do stuff. Then you have a 3 mana 3/3 spell damage +1, heal all your minions for 1, and it has taunt also, by the way. It's I don't actually think that there's enough space to explore here. If you really needed a filler card, you could make this a 3 mana 3/4, Battle Cry, gain the effects of all totems you control, and call it a day. It would be pretty uninspiring, and it would be filler even at that level. Because Totemic Reflection is just mostly better. 3 mana +2/+4 on 2 totems, and then you also copy the base totem. So even if this was a 3 mana 3/4, it would never get played. Zinc Jigsaw Bot. It's a warrior 2 mana 3/2. With Overkill, equip a 3/2 Fire War Axe. Design 1 star, balance 4 stars. Now, before the author cries that I gave this card 1-star design, when it's so clever that every single letter in the alphabet is represented on this card, you can take a moment and look. It is all there, A through Z, wow. This card lacks flavor. Why is a Jigsaw Bot zinked? Well, I mean, they had to put the letter Z in there. What is a Jigsaw Bot? Why is this bot giving me a 3/2 Fire War Axe every time it overkills something? And I didn't even take off any points for the overkill. It's just all very confusing, and this card cannot be saved. Review results. It's a priest 1-mana spell. Discover a card your opponent played last turn. Design 3 stars, balance 4 stars. Now, this is a little bit unusual because I looked at this card originally and I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. It's yet another 1-mana discover from a limited subsect of the pool, except this one is specifically taking from your opponent's play. But then I thought about it some more, and I think this is a very deceptively bad card to have in Hearthstone. Why? Because if you give a class this type of power to be able to copy anything your opponent does very selectively, you are going to make a super control deck that cannot be beat, because this card basically allows you to use whatever tricks the opponent has at the big end game and take it for yourself. Now, I know that's in flavor for being priest, but here's the thing. Mind Control and Murazon, they cost 8 and 10 mana. Review results, it's 1 mana, and you get the card in your hand, which means you can copy the battle cry. You can play their battle cry thing, which means if you think about this card through the arrows, you could copy the big Death Knight card from all the classes. You can copy the fully invoked Galakron. Every single big end game card that the opponent built their entire deck around, you're just better them. You just beat them. And perhaps even more striking than that is it's flexible in the sense that, well, you're not up against a control deck. You just pay 1 more mana and you just, discover a card from your opponent, whatever. I also have a problem with the name. Review results is not very priest-like, even though this is a priest mechanic. When I think about it, I think I still rated this card too highly. I'm not entirely sure this effect can ever be in the game at a low mana cost. It has to be at a very high mana cost. We're talking like Murazon levels here. And honestly, when I look at a card like this, I suddenly look at Murazon and I'm like, wow, genius. Riptide Shaman 4-mana spell. Lifesteal. Deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. Improved by overloaded crystals. Design 4 stars. Balance 5 stars. I think this is a nice little control tool. If you have 2 overloaded crystals, this card's going to deal 3 damage to all enemy minions, which seems pretty good for 4 mana to deal 3 to all enemy minions and then lifesteal. It's a cheaper tidal wave, which doesn't hit your own side. The only problem I have with this card is actually the name. In World of Warcraft, Riptide does not do damage, so it's a pretty easy fix. Just choose a name that represents this effect more. Normal Mount Seller. Druid 3 mana 1/3. Whenever you cast a spell, summon a random 1-cost beast. Design 2 stars, balance 3 stars. Obviously, it's a nod to Exotic Mount Seller, a very popular druid card. Look at me, I'm so cool. I'm making it 3 mana instead, making it summon lame beasts. That's why it's a normal Mount Seller. And that's about the story of that card. It's a little bit too much of a inside joke. Probably should just say local Mount Seller. That would make more sense. Normal is such a weird adjective to give something. But also, it's such a boring design because look at Vex Crow. It's just whenever you cast a spell, summon a random 2-drop. This one, you get 1-cost beast. It's like, whatever. This card is just too weak. Could be a 3 mana 2/4, but I mean, that would make for a pretty boring card. Waves of Violence. It's a warrior 3 mana spell. Deal 1 damage to your minions. For each one that survived, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. I'm a little torn on this one. It's an interesting effect, one that we've never seen before. Design 2 stars, balance 1 star. Here's the problem, and probably the reason why we've never seen this effect before. It's so narrow. It's for the deck where you want to have a board and then you want to deal a small amount of damage to your board in order to deal a large amount of AoE damage. But then the problem comes in, what situation arose where you have a board and they have a board and they didn't like already clash into each other? There's also the flavor question of what is happening in this card. And this is a common theme that's happened in this particular week. Why is it that when I deal some small amount of damage to my minions, what does that even mean, by the way? Why am I then dealing a increasingly large amount of damage based on how many of my minions survive? It's just very, very abstract. I thought about, could this card cost 1 mana? Would it still be played? In some cases, it's actually still worse than Whirlwind because, I mean, you could have no minions, then you don't deal any damage. Basically meant as a combo card is what I figured. You build up your own board, you damage your own board a little bit in order to clear your opponent's board. It's like, oh, that's really specific of a use. Meh. Next up, we have Unidentified Companion, a hunter 4-mana spell. Summon a 3/3 wolf. Gains a bonus effect in your hand. These bonus effects can either be summon 2/1/1 cups, put a random hunter secret into the battlefield, discover a spell, or death rattle, summon a 3/3 wolf. While I think that these effects are, they're all alright, and they're fairly okay in terms of power level compared to each other, my big problem with this card is all flavor. Your hunter companion, it cannot be unidentified. That is dumb. There's a reason why the unidentified series of cards were all objects, because you needed to get them identified to find out what they did. Why do you need to get your companion identified? How was it possible that you didn't know what your companion did when you're a hunter and you're like a beastmaster? And I thought about, okay, how are we going to retheme this? And I couldn't think of a good retheme. And while it was suggested that, okay, maybe it can be an unidentified whistle, there's further questions like, why is my animal that I'm summoning putting a hunter secret into the battlefield? Why is my animal discovering a spell? It's like, okay, I get the cubs, and I get the death rattle, summon a 3/3 wolf, but the flavor, I cannot taste it. It tastes bad. I think this week really showed that you do need to think about your card and how it fits into the bigger picture. How can you actually give it adequate flavor? And while many of those cards may have put a bad taste in your mouth, well, it did for my mouth, at least we're gonna end with the trump card of the week, which has excellent seafood flavor. Swordfish. It's a dual class card, Rogue Warrior. 2 mana, 3/2. Battle Cry. If you control a pirate, equip this minion as a weapon instead. Design 5 stars, balance 5 stars. I love it, and I love the templating on this card as well. It turns out that it's actually fairly easy to understand what it means to equip this 3/2 beast, and that's what it means to have good flavor. Like, you can look at this card and understand why is it that you can equip this minion as a weapon. It's because swordfishes have this big pointy nose, which you can like apparently hold and then poke people with. And this is actually something that pirates do. True story. Now that is excellent flavor. It's good balance. 2 mana 3/2 is very fair, and the 2 mana 3/2 Fiery War Axe that you get for a discount if you have a pirate, that's fair. I think the card is cool in the dual usage of it. It could be a minion, it could be a weapon. What a cool idea. And I just think that it really says something that it's understood what it means to equip this minion as a weapon instead. Like, look at that, that's brilliant. Cool fact, by the way, you can hand buff the card and then equip a bigger weapon. So here's to hoping that we find excellent flavor in the next custom Hearthstone cards of the week.